In 1825, on the island of Java, a prince led a rebellion against Dutch colonial rule. The war killed 200,000 people. Almost no one outside Indonesia remembers it today. But here's what makes it strange. That war, and the brutal system built on its ashes, is traceable to something you did this morning. The coffee break you took at 10 a.m. Sit with that for a moment. In the next 8 minutes, you're going to see the mechanism connecting a forgotten colonial conflict to the ritual that structures your workday. This isn't a metaphor. It's a consequence chain, one that runs through volcanic soil, forced labor, economic collapse, and the invention of workplace culture itself. By the end, you'll understand why your afternoon latte carries a 200-year-old shadow. The story begins in 1815 with a different disaster entirely. Mount Tambora erupted on the island of Sumbawa, just east of Java. It was the largest volcanic eruption in recorded history. 70,000 people died immediately. The ash cloud cooled global temperatures for 2 years. 1816 became known as the year without a summer. In Java, the agricultural system collapsed. Crops failed. The Dutch colonial administration, already stretched thin after the Napoleonic Wars had temporarily ended their rule, faced a devastated economy. Into this chaos stepped Prince Diponegoro. Diponegoro was a member of the Javanese royal family, but he was also deeply religious, opposed to the Dutch presence, and increasingly alarmed by how colonial officials were seizing Javanese land for plantations. When the Dutch built a road through land he considered sacred, something broke. The Java War began in 1825. For 5 years, Diponegoro led a guerrilla campaign across the island. The Dutch couldn't defeat him in open battle. He had popular support. He knew the terrain, so they changed tactics. According to Dutch military reports from the campaign, they built a network of small forts, Benton, across the island. They systematically destroyed villages suspected of supporting the rebellion. They burned crops. They starved populations into submission. By 1830, Diponegoro was captured through treachery during peace negotiations. He spent the remaining 25 years of his life in exile. The war killed an estimated 200,000 Javanese, most from famine and disease caused by the scorched-earth campaign. 8,000 Dutch soldiers died as well. But here's what matters for our story. The war nearly bankrupted the Dutch colonial administration, and that bankruptcy led to something far worse than the war itself. In 1830, the same year Diponegoro was captured, a new governor-general arrived in Java. His name was Johannes van den Bosch, and he had a solution to the colony's financial crisis. The cultivation system. The mechanism was brutally simple. Javanese farmers were required to dedicate a portion of their land, officially 20%, but often far more, to growing export crops for the Dutch government. Not rice for their families. Coffee, sugar, indigo. The crops were sold at fixed prices set by the colonial government, far below market value. Farmers who failed to meet their quotas faced punishment. Their land could be seized. They could be forced into labor on government plantations. The system was, in effect, state-organized forced labor at a continental scale. And it worked for the Dutch. According to colonial trade records from the 1840s, Java had become the world's largest coffee producer within a single decade. By mid-century, coffee from Java accounted for a significant portion of the Dutch national budget. The Netherlands built railways, funded schools, paid down debts, all on the backs of Javanese peasants growing coffee they couldn't afford to drink. The long shadow here is traceable. A rebellion crushed, an economy in ruins, a system of forced cultivation, and suddenly Europe was flooded with cheap coffee. Before Java, coffee was expensive, a luxury, something for aristocrats and merchants. After Java, coffee became affordable enough for factory workers in Manchester and Amsterdam and Boston. Here's where the consequence chain reaches your morning. In the 1880s, as cheap colonial coffee saturated Western markets, something new emerged: the coffee break. Factory owners in England and the United States discovered that workers who paused for coffee, who had a stimulant mid-morning and mid-afternoon, were more productive. The break became institutionalized, not a luxury, a management tool. By the early 20th century, the coffee break was standard in American workplaces. During World War II, the U.S. government actively promoted it as essential to war production. The term coffee break itself was popularized by a 1952 advertising campaign by the Pan American Coffee Bureau, but the practice was already decades old by then. And here's what we don't often acknowledge. That practice was only economically possible because of systems like the cultivation system. Because somewhere for over a century, people were forced to grow coffee under conditions we would now call slavery, or something very close to it. The ritual you perform at 10 a.m. has roots in colonial violence. Not metaphorically, materially. The mechanism is clear. War led to bankruptcy. Bankruptcy led to forced cultivation. Forced cultivation created cheap coffee. Cheap coffee enabled the coffee break. And the coffee break became so embedded in work culture that we now consider it natural. Inevitable. Just how offices work. It isn't natural. It was made. And the long shadow of how it was made is still present in every cup. Today, global coffee production still depends heavily on labor in the global south, often under conditions that, while not identical to the cultivation system, carry echoes of that earlier structure. The question for the next 50 years may be this. As we become more aware of these consequence chains, as traceable histories like this one become easier to research and share, will our rituals change? We don't know. But the coffee break itself is evidence that economic systems can create cultural practices that outlast their origins by centuries. What other shadows are we living inside without knowing it? A forgotten war, a system of forced labor, a ritual that feels like freedom but was built on the opposite. The long shadow of the Java War may still be rewriting your Tuesday. If stories like this matter to you, if you want to see the mechanisms hiding inside ordinary things, subscribe. There's another one next Friday.